No two fights are ever identical, but that doesn't mean you won't be able to find two fights alike that share similar characteristics. I think the perfect film study for Plant vs. Benavidez would be Mayweather vs. Diego Corrales. Entering the fight, Chico Corrales was the wrecking ball of the super featherweight division. He was tall and lengthy, especially for the weight class, similar to Benavidez. His MO was to stalk his opponents while applying heavy pressure, cut the ring short, and punish his opponents on the inside. Mayweather was the better boxer of the two technically. Being that he had the size disadvantage, the foot and hand speed was in his favor. I'm going to go over this masterful game plan that Mayweather executed when he stopped Chico Corrales in their super featherweight title fight. Benavidez will waste no time trying to impose his size and strength. Plant needs to establish some sort of control early on to slow the pace down as much as possible. Range is not easy to find, especially for the head. Plant's primary focus early on should be to attack the center of the body. The spear jab to the abdomen works for a few reasons. First, it's the center of gravity. By spearing the abdomen, it will keep Benavidez from setting completely. As a volume puncher, David must anchor his feet before he can adequately throw combinations. David also has the tendency to square up in order to gain full leverage in his hooks and uppercuts, so each time he squares up, there should be a window of opportunity as it will expose the opening for the jab to slide through. A big engine requires a bigger gas tank. Each time the jab lands, it will disrupt David's breathing patterns as it will zap a bit of air out of the tires with each hit. A big part of David's game is overwhelming volume. The slower the pace, the more favorable the fight will be for Plant, as he is at his best when he's able to snipe from the outside. Every volume puncher relies on rhythm. The body jab will cause David to constantly reset. By taking David out of rhythm, it will frustrate him. Plant has to do everything possible to keep David from heating up. This is how you're able to minimize his punch output. Once the body jab becomes a threat, it's now time to establish the jab upstairs. Benavidez will most likely be the one pressing the pace. Each time he has to reset, he'll have to re-enter the pocket. That's when Plant needs to meet him at the line with solid jabs to maintain proper distance. The jab is crucial because it's a punch that you don't have to fully commit to. As long as it lands, it'll point. Plant cannot get into exchanges, so it's essential that he sticks and moves. The jab is what will lay the trap for everything else. Plant can either use it to set up following punches, or use the jab to lure Benavidez in to land counter shots. By pulling Benavidez in, it will take away from his reach advantage, as he will be the one that will have to close the gap. Once the range is neutral, Plant will be able to use his quick lead hooks on the inside or between Benavidez's combinations. Most important, the jab upstairs will contribute to maintaining some sort of control. It is vital that Plant is able to slow Benavidez down, as every bit counts. Plant must do everything in his power to keep David's volume down, and that all begins with a solid jab. Benavidez is most dangerous when he has his opponents pinned against the ropes. What Mayweather utilized was beautiful lateral movement. In order to stay off the ropes, one must constantly move left and right. Plant won't have the firepower to press Benavidez back, and he cannot move straight back into the ropes. The second he feels his back touch the ropes, he must tie up. By constantly moving, it will keep Benavidez from planting his feet. Even if David lands some punches, the power will be restricted, as he won't have proper leverage to follow through. Again, David is only able to throw combinations efficiently if Plant is a sitting target. Even if it's small steps, Plant has to constantly cut and create new angles. This way, Benavidez will have to constantly adjust his offense. Being that Benavidez will be the one pressing the pace, Plant will set the tone, as David will be the one who has to cut off his movements. Plant has a very good lead hand. Once he establishes the jab as a threat, it will open up the lead hook. In the matchup against Chico, Mayweather first focused on the body, which opened the jab upstairs. Once Chico figured out how to detect the jab, Mayweather changed his opening rhythm to go around the guard with the lead hook instead. The point of attack is when David steps into the pocket. There he must be met with force. If there is no resistance, Benavidez will openly engage.
By Floyd Mayweather. And Corrales not taking a step.
And the blinding punches.
And they both have been by left hooks.
There's another punch inside. Mayweather looking to finish this fight. Down goes, and he hit him in the back of the
ground. I think it might have been a left hook that come. There's a left hook.
There it is.
There's a left hook.
How do you defend that? What an accurate, quick.
We are all creatures of habits, especially when it comes to boxers. Day in and day out, boxers drill the same movements over and over, to which it becomes muscle memory ingrained deeply within. Sure, you can fine-tune certain movements, but for the most part, it is what it is. In this section, we will explore what Plant should be on notice for, and how he could take advantage of the positioning when it presents itself. Benavidez has an off-rhythm punch that typically catches his opponents when they're least expecting of it. Typically, when a fighter is walking down their opponent, they first set both their feet before pushing off the rear foot. Benavidez throws off the timing by catching his opponents as his feet are crossed together. He is able to get away with this due to his reach, as he's catching a moving target and catching him at the end of his punch. When Plant recognizes this, he must strike when Benavidez has both his feet together. By striking at this position, Plant should be able to push Benavidez back, causing him to also reset, since David won't have an anchor since his back foot is out of position. The attack works because it catches the opponents when they're least expected due to the distance. For David to cover the distance, he must reach. By reaching, he leaves his head exposed. If slipped properly, Plant can catch Benavidez when his feet come together due to landing to catch balance. David cannot help himself from throwing combinations. I mean, really think about it. How else does one have such a high output if it weren't for stringing punches together? When David gets too comfortable, he keeps his head dead center when he unloads, so his head wouldn't be hard to find. The key to beating a combination fighter is to catch them between their own punches.